don't know if it looks like I've been crying, but I've been watching Bella Fiore's Mystery Monday videos like every day of October, and I just watched one that made me genuinely sob. I was watching it as I was getting ready, and like the makeup was just pouring down my face. So anyway, last video I posted was my fall October TBR. Then I filmed a fall recommendations video and I just scrapped it. It was blurry, the lighting kept changing because the weather was weird. I don't know. I just like didn't like that video. So I'm filming my October wrap up. It's officially November, which is so insane. And for me, fall reading extends to November as well, so I'll definitely be reading plenty of like fallish books this month. I've said before I read about 6 to 10 books a month, and this month I read 8 books, and one of them was a DNF, so I've completed 7 books. So I feel like that's really average for me, and I want to talk about all the books that I read in October. Let's just get the DNF out of the way. So DNF stands for did not finish. It takes a lot for me to DNF. I don't DNF books as much as I should, even when I know I'm not enjoying them. I would like to stop reading books that I'm not enjoying a lot more because it just makes sense, but especially if it's something that I bought with my own money, I feel guilt about not seeing it through because I'm like, I paid for this. You know what I mean? Regardless, the book that I DNF'd was a gift, so I feel less bad. It took me all month to read this, so just know there's 7 of these books. The whole time I was reading all 7, I was trying to read this and failing. That is David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. I love these Penguin cloth-bound editions. I think they're so gorgeous. I would love to collect more of them. This was a gift given to me by my brother. Me and my brother, we're so cute. We buy books for each other all the time. I had asked for Christmas last year for some of these Penguin cloth-bound editions. He got me Frankenstein, which is one of my favorite books, one of my favorite classics of all time, Persuasion by Jane Austen, which I haven't read yet, and this. I also, for Christmas, asked for the book Demon Copperhead, a very famous book, and it's a retelling of this, and my brother was like, I bought you this one because I know you wanted to read that one, but I thought you might want to read the original material first. I didn't. Can I say this? I hate Charles Dickens. I have only read one other book of his, but I've read it twice. I've read Great Expectations twice. I read it in high school and I hated it, and then in college I read it again because I was like, surely I was just too young to appreciate it. Surely I would like it more once I was older. Hated it the second time too. I also have A Tale of Two Cities on my bookshelf, and I do want to give that a chance at some point, but after that, 3 strikes and you're out, Dickens. I do not want to read enough. This is so excruciating. I don't know how people do it. And let it be known that I love classics. I really do. I could not care less if I tried. This is like a 900-page book. It's a beautiful book, by the way. I made it 178 pages. So I feel like I gave it a really fair shot. And it was like I fought tooth and nail for those 178 pages to try to get through this book. I wanted to DNF about 5 pages in, and I made it 178, so I'm proud of myself for doing that. This is about, you know, a little orphan boy who grows up. The thing about Dickens is I've read somewhere that he got paid by the page, or maybe it was even by the word. Regardless, it shows. You can feel it. You can tell this man got paid by the word. Even if he didn't, that's what it feels like. The way he goes on and on and on and on about every little thing that has nothing to do with anything. And it's every single sentence. It's truly exhausting. I spent the entire month, 31 days, to get through 178 pages, and I'm officially DNFing. This is only my 3rd DNF of the year. I don't DNF a lot, but I gave it my best shot, and that's that. The first book that I completed, Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I loved this. I loved this. Can't believe it has just been sitting on my shelf for like a year and a half. I feel like I've owned this book for a really long time, and I feel like it definitely had its moment. I can't remember if that was last year or the year before. I was seeing this everywhere. People were talking about it all the time. My friends that I know don't read ever were reading this. It's a blend of fantasy and romance. It was just beautiful, like truly beautiful. I could not put it down. I think I finished this in one night, or maybe like a couple different sittings, but like less than 2 days. This is about fantasy, so I couldn't say the exact time period, but it's definitely like old times. The character Iris and the main male character Roman, they work at like a column, like a newspaper column together. I think they're both journalists, and they're competing for the same promotion. They truly are just like rivals to lovers. And but there's a whole fantasy element because they're in the middle of the war, so the stakes are pretty high. The tension is building up from the outside, so therefore it's also cause for tension in their relationship. Her brother is off at war and she is writing letters to her brother. What she doesn't know is her typewriter is magically linked to Roman's. The letters keep appearing in his bedroom. So he picks up pretty quickly that these letters are from Iris, and he writes back. So he knows that it's her writing to him, but she doesn't know that it's her work rival writing back to her. It's just so sweet. The letters are so beautiful. The story is beautiful. Her writing is amazing. It was just so lovely, and I don't know how else to describe it. The romantasy genre right now, they're all kind of the same. I don't know. They all kind of feel like, I don't want to say gimmicky, because sometimes I like truly eat it up, and sometimes that's exactly what I'm craving. It's just this like frivolous, ridiculous whirlwind romance. And then I read books like this and it's truly just beautiful. It stops me in my tracks and I'm like, wow, I want to read more books like this. The romance was 100% the best part. The fantasy elements, I mean, the magical typewriters was awesome, but like the fantastical war going on in the background was definitely just in the background. And then I think that element really picks up in book 2, which I've heard a lot of people actually say that they were disappointed in book 2 because of that, because the romance kind of takes a back seat. I'm curious how I will feel. It's only a duology, so there's only 2 books, so I definitely will be reading more from this author. Then I read on my Kindle The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. I finished this on my birthday. It is the perfect October read. If you haven't read this, save it for next October. This is my second Ashley Poston book. I tried to read one earlier this year, and that was actually my first DNF of the year. Oh gosh, I did not like that at all. That was a novel love story, but I've heard that The Dead Romantics and The 7-Year Slip are her best. The Dead Romantics is a romance that has kind of a spooky season vibe. The main character, her whole thing is she can see ghosts and talk to them, and it's this very specific gift that her father had as well, and he has recently passed away, so she goes back to her hometown to kind of prepare for his funeral. Her family also owned a funeral home, so they were kind of like known in town as like the people with the funeral home, you know what I mean? So when I first heard that this romance was between a girl and a ghost, I was like, no. Immediately no, I'm not interested in that. And I was floored. It was truly so romantic, and I will say that it's not what you think, but I can't spoil anything for you. But it is. It is a romance between a girl and a ghost, but it's not what you think it is. She was kind of like outcast in her town for being like the freaky girl who thinks she can see dead people. You know, the rumors were circulated about that. It's about family bonds. It is a romance, and it's a very, very sweet story. There is a heavy plot line of grief, so that's not something you want to read about. Maybe don't. Beautiful story about grief, and there's also this romance happening. But then there's also like the setting of the funeral home. There's the ghosts, obviously. There's like crows everywhere. Do you know what I'm saying? That's why I'm saying this is the perfect romance to specifically read in October. It was the perfect fall read. There's nothing else to say. But I really, really liked it. It really took me by surprise. I think I cried at the end, which I really wasn't expecting. I forgot to say my ratings. This I obviously didn't rate because I didn't finish it. This I rated 4.5 stars, and The Dead Romantics I also rated 4.5 stars, which is huge for me. Books, I think, naturally fall in the 3-star range, so when a book is like a new favorite, back to back too, I'm just like, wow, I love reading so much. Next, I read Vicious by V.E. Schwab. This I got from my library. This is a very, very, very popular book. A very OG booktube book. When I first started watching videos like this when I was in high school, this book was everywhere. Of course, V.E. Schwab is a very famous author in the fantasy space. This is a blend of fantasy and sci-fi. I am not a sci-fi person, I will say. However, I did mention earlier that Frankenstein is one of my favorite books of all time, so maybe it just depends on the book. Of course, reading is subjective. Anyway, I hate to say that I didn't love this, but I didn't. I don't know anyone who has read this and has rated it lower than a 4.5. I think V.E. Schwab is very talented. I think the character work was amazing. She's just really good at her craft. This is about 2 young men in college, and during their senior year thesis, they are studying what is essentially like superheroes that they believe are real. And they have this like groundbreaking discovery. If someone has a near-death experience, it can give them superhuman abilities. Something about the combination of trauma and adrenaline. It sounds really interesting. Like I said, I think she is a great writer. I think the character work was very well done. I think there's a lot of layers to this, and I can understand why this is someone's favorite book. I personally just like, it ended and I was like, okay. Someone dies and I'm like, okay. I don't know. I just didn't care about it, and that's all I have to say. I think I first rated it 2.5. I think I would change that to a 3 because it is a good book. It's just not a book for me. And then I read on my Kindle Out of the Woods by Hannah Bonham Young. This is another one that really surprised me. Out of the Woods is the companion novel to Out on a Limb. I read Out on a Limb earlier this year. Loved it. One of my favorite romances of the year. Out of the Woods is about Sarah and Caleb, and they have been together since they were 14. They got married at 19, and now they're like 30. I have never read a romance before where the 2 characters are already together. Actually, that's not true. I read, what is that book called? You Deserve Each Other. I hated that. I haven't read, it's a romance novel, but the 2 main characters are already married. I always just assumed I would never like something like that because the anticipation and the tension and the banter and the, are they gonna get together? Are they not? You could cut the tension with a knife, just kiss already. Like, that is the best part of a book to me. By the time the 2 characters confess their love and get together, I'm like, okay, look, we can wrap this up. I went into Out of the Woods with really low expectations, and I think going in with low expectations was a good thing because I was truly shocked about how much I loved this. So this is about Hannah and Caleb. No, it's not. It's about Sarah and Caleb. They, again, like I said, have been together since they were kids. And Sarah's having a bit of a quarter-life crisis because she's like, I don't even know who I am without you. We've been living the same day over and over again for so many years. Like, I just need a change. So they're big city people, and they go on this camping, hiking retreat. It was so sweet. They went on this retreat to like re-spark the love they have for each other and to like reignite their marriage. I think that's what the retreat is called, Reignite. I have never read anything like that before. I didn't think it would work for me, and it really, really did. This is kind of the opposite of Vicious, where I had only seen 3-star ratings, and everyone that I follow on Goodreads that has read this has deemed it to be pretty mid, and I gave it 4 stars. So I really, really enjoyed it. Then I read And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. This I read in a book club with a bunch of my friends. We really wanted to start book club because we're all big readers, but the problem is we all read different things. I mean, I will read anything. I could be in anybody's book club because I truly will read anything. In fact, I have to switch up genres constantly because I get really bored, and I'll talk about that in a second. One of my friends only reads thrillers and another one of my friends only reads classics. I was like, I have the perfect book, a classic thriller. We read this. Was it the most groundbreaking plot twist reveal of all time? No, but I understand that it was groundbreaking at the time. I think this was published in the 1930s. At the time, this was huge. Didn't read like an old book. It was like super easy to read, super easy to follow. This is about 10 people who get lured onto this island for various reasons. They all assume that they're going there for a specific thing. They're kind of like tricked into going there, and they start dying one by one. There's this little poem that it corresponds with. I really liked that element of it. But like the big reveal at the end, it was like, oh. You know, I love a plot twist, and when there's not one that really gets me, I am like a little bit disappointed. I've said this before, but when you read enough thrillers, you become a lot better at guessing the twist, which is a bummer because if you don't read thrillers at all and you pick up a random one, you'd probably love it. Anyway, I'm glad I read this. It's just a classic murder mystery novel. It's like the classic murder mystery whodunit novel. It's incredibly famous. Somebody in our book club said this was like the most, I'm gonna get this fact wrong, this was like the most sold copy of anything ever published besides the Bible. I have no idea if that's true. Should we look it up? If that's true, I will say like I was expecting a bit more. Most sold copy. According to Google, it's like a lot of religious texts, and then it's Don Quixote, and then it's A Tale of Two Cities, and then The Lord of the Rings. That's wrong. This book is very famous, and I gave it 3.5. I would probably lower that to 3 if we're being so honest, but it was good. I enjoyed it. Then I read Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver. I read the Chestnut Spring series last year, all but Hopeless. I never read the last one. And I read Wild Love earlier this year. I thought Wild Love was okay. It was like a solid 3 stars. Like ever since finishing that book, I feel like I saw Wild Eyes everywhere I looked for like the next 10 months. Like I could not escape this book. I was like a little bit disappointed. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't have been because I didn't love Wild Love either. But people really, really love Wild Eyes. I feel like this is most people's favorite in the series. This is about this very famous, gorgeous, beautiful country star. I was picturing Megan Moroney the whole time. She's just like kind of exhausted by her life. She doesn't have any friends. Her family is horrible, and she isn't inspired by what she does anymore, and she is like, I'm gonna go to this small town, this small random recording studio in the middle of nowhere and record my own album with songs that I wrote, with nobody shoving down my throat what I'm supposed to be doing. So she goes to record with Ford Grant, who is the main character in Wild Love. He's the music producer in this small town. So I loved that element. I loved that it was like very intertwined with the 2 characters from Wild Love. The male main character, West, is the brother of Rosie, who's the main female character in Wild Love. I feel like I explained that so poorly and used way too many words to say something very simple, but that's kind of my thing. West is a single dad of 2 kids. The kids are so cute. I really like the single father trope. It's just sweet. I think it brings out a side of a male main character that doesn't make him a jerk. Like if he's a good dad, you know that he's a good person, and that makes me like them more. And it was really cute, and then it just got to a point where I was like so over it. I don't think there was enough build up and tension for my liking. I had the same issue with Wild Love. Like I've said before, I really love a slow burn in a story, so when the 2 characters like get together too fast, I don't know, I just lose interest. At like the 50-60% mark, I was like, I don't really like this anymore, which is kind of a bummer because I was really loving the beginning and the setup and the plot and the premise. I loved the idea of it, but the execution, I was just like, I don't know, I was tired by the end. I feel like I liked it the same amount as Wild Love, which to me is like a 3-star, and I don't think I'm interested in reading the rest of this series. Juniper Hill, I also read this on my Kindle. This is another second book in a small town romance series. What is this series called? The Eden series. In book 1, Indigo Ridge, there was this murder mystery element mixed with small town romance, which I really love. And I was under the impression that the whole series was going to be like that, this mix of thriller and romance. In Indigo Ridge, I did not like the romance at all. I thought the characters were super two-dimensional. I, again, thought they got together way too fast, and that side of the story was just like boring to me. But the murder mystery element of it, she's the detective. I was so interested in that, and I thought the big reveal at the end was like really well done. In Juniper Hill, I did like these characters a lot more than Indigo Ridge. I didn't mind that it was another small town romance, but I wasn't expecting that, and like I said, I have to switch up genres. I had just read Wild Eyes. I thought there was going to be a secondary plot line that was going to be completely different. I felt like my brain was running a little bit, but I'm just like that. I need to switch things up. But I will say I like this romance a lot better than Wild Eyes. I was really enjoying the story of Memphis and Knox. So she, again, is like running away from her rich family, and she has a little boy. This was the single mom trope this time. And she is staying in Knox's apartment, like the apartment that's on his property that he rents out, and that's where she is staying. So there's like a forced proximity trope, which actually was the exact same in Wild Eyes. There's a lot of similarities. They read completely differently because the writing is completely different, but now that I'm explaining it, I'm like, maybe that's why I got tired. There's like the single parent trope, there's the small town, there's the forced proximity, she's running away from her family, regardless. So Memphis and Knox, I'm sorry, I hate those names. I hate those names. I don't like this. Like, why? That is just such a small town romance. Memphis and Knox, like, that's so predictable. Anyway, so Knox is like this chef, and he's really broody and grumpy. Not my favorite male main character personality. And Memphis is just like broken and sad and postpartum and trying her best. And I just really, really, really liked Memphis as a main character. Knox, I think, came around really quickly, but I'm 80% into this romance book, and I'm thinking, wasn't there supposed to be a thriller element to this? I thought that's what this whole series was. Something does happen. There is like this big thing that happens that's a little bit scary, but then it's resolved like that, and then the book ends. Just wasn't what I was expecting, but not bad. I did like it. I gave this a 3.5 stars, and I also don't think I'm going to continue the rest of this series. Oh! That's actually it. Lastly, I want to talk about the book that I'm currently reading. I'm reading Taming Seven by Chloe Walsh. I am 262 pages into this, so I love how floppy these books are, by the way. This is my favorite kind of book. A paperback that is like super floppy. This is book 5 in the Boys of Tommen series. This is my entire personality right now. I love it so much. And you know what? I said in my previous video of books that I wanted to read this month, when I described it, I had just said what I had heard. And I mean from many, 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 many people, that this is the worst one in the series. This is supposed to be Gibbsy and Claire's book, but Lizzie is the main character. Lizzie sucks. Where are Gibbsy and Claire? It feels like they're not even in this book. I heard things like that from multiple people multiple times. I went into this with very low expectations. I went into this thinking that I wouldn't like it. I went into this thinking I would be really dissatisfied by Gibbsy and Claire's development and in their relationship and like the plot line of their story. I went into this thinking that Lizzie would be the forefront of every single chapter, and let me just say, I am loving this. I love this. Maybe it's because I went in with low expectations. Maybe it's because it's been a bit since I read Redeeming Six, so I've had a little bit of a break between books. I'm loving this story. I understand where people are coming from because Lizzie in this book is like very, very, very frustrating, and I know that this is kind of a setup to her book, which is the next book in the series. I've heard that that's the most heartbreaking book in the entire series, and after finishing Joey's books, I feel like that is saying a lot. But like, she is like an absolute piece of work in this book. Very irrational, very emotional, very frustrating to read the scenes that she's in, but I don't think it's like overpowering Claire and Gibbsy's story, and that's how it was described to me by everyone. I'm 60% in, so maybe the ending will like really piss me off. Even like my best friends we literally have a group chat where we just talk about the series. She was like, you have to start Taming Seven even though it's a terrible book. And like I'm loving this book. Do I love it as much as I love Johnny and Shannon or Joey and Aoife's stories? Like, no, maybe not, but I think this is very true to Claire and Gibbsy from being side characters in previous books. I feel like this is their book. I feel like it's very authentic to them, and I don't even mind all the Lizzie scenes because I know that there is a point. I know that there's a point to them because her book is next. I don't know. I just think what the author is doing so far is pretty much exactly what I expected. I disagree with the whole discourse about this book not being fair. Again, maybe I'll come back with another wrap up and say that everyone is right and this book sucks. I don't know, but I just wanted to say that I'm really liking it. Okay, those are all the books that I've read in October. I think I'll finish Taming 7 extremely soon, so if you want to hear my thoughts on that, stay tuned. I'll talk about it at some point. Let me know your favorite book that you read in October. Thanks for watching. Did I already say that? Not sure, but thanks again for being here, and I'll see you next time.